Provecho.
Quédense quietos. Si no, nos matará.
Los niños hablan inglés. Pues hablamos inglés.
Frankly, I hate dialogue is a quote from Denis Villeneuve that did not really surprise me so much at first. Villeneuve is such a visual storyteller, crafting absolutely stunning, visceral and emotional narratives that cross from intimate stories about family and grief, all the way through to generational space epics. Yet the more I thought about the dialogue of Villeneuve's films, the more I was struck by how layered it is within the context of the worlds that he creates. What I think Villeneuve was expressing through this original remark was referring to a distancing that has happened across the industry. A movement away from strong visual storytelling and towards clunky, hyper-structured narratives that are reliant on force-feeding their audience information, rather than letting the pictures tell a story. Yet as I watch his films, oftentimes it is the dialogue that sticks out to me, as I am left wondering about Villeneuve's thematic fascination with the idea of language and the broader role that it has to play within his worlds. Villeneuve is one of the few major Hollywood directors out there that shows a real confidence at navigating the use of language, telling multi-dimensional stories that are interested in examining its power in society and its ability to redefine relationship dynamics and craft a sense of control in the lives of individuals. The dialogue and scripts that he gravitates towards are not what would be considered memorable by Hollywood standards. There are no quippy back and forths of conversational banter or expansive, tension-filled monologues that leave the audience at the edge of their seat. Rather, Villeneuve is restrained with his choice of words, more interested in the role that language plays in the subtext of his story, and how its ability to craft diverse and complex worlds lays out the stakes for his characters. I think this is most strongly highlighted by Sicario, where the world of the protagonist Kate is one that is shrouded in mystery from the second she joins Graver's border task force. It is a world of backdoor dealings and conversations in the shadows, but also one where characters are used, obscured from seeing the bigger picture by their inability to fully understand all the languages that populate their world. In this sense, Villeneuve likes to use monolingualism to portray a sense of naivety in his characters. He is particular, though, to not show them as unintelligent or incapable, more so purely as restrained by the breadth of their abilities communicate, and as nothing more than bystanders in the world that exists around them. Characters such as Kate, Reggie, and Silvio are naive through their lack of understanding, as their monolingualism leaves them devoid of facts, blindly doing the bidding of those that are represented as having more power. In this way, major players like Alarcon, Raphael, and Alejandro present the gateways between worlds, where their bilingualism is presented as one of their key skills. For someone like Alejandro, this allows him to navigate the world of corruption and deceit that exists within the CIA, whilst also acting as the main conduit between the cartels and the Americans. He holds all the cards, being chief operator, torturer, and extractor, blending the different worlds whilst efficiently using language to pass between them. His use of Spanish is clinical and cold, seeing as a perfunctory means of gathering information, rather than formulating any form of connection with the recipients of his words. For cartel players like Alarcon and Raphael, this power allows them to internationally run their operation, playing both sides of the fence to coerce, corrupt, and look out for their key strategic interests. All these characters hold all the answers, as their world is illuminated by the language that they hold. I think in this sense, Villeneuve paints multilinguistic ability as a key tool for power, with information being the secret that it unlocks.
The Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The theory that it's the theory that the language you speak determines how you think, and
Yeah, it affects how you see everything. It was,
Much like Arrival, Sicario also plays on this idea of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, which suggests that a language a person speaks determines or influences how they think. Alejandro's suggestion to Kate that nothing will make sense to your American ears reinforces this, alluding that her lack of ability to transition between these worlds and her lack of cultural understanding means that she'll struggle to comprehend the rationale behind the actions of Graver and Alejandro. In the real world, Sapir-Whorf's theory of linguistic relativity is something that has been brought into question by many linguists. Despite this, its usage in Arrival is one that seeks, through its exaggerated state, to drive Villeneuve's perspectives around the relationship between multilingualism and power. I think that Villeneuve's mastery of science fiction stories is rooted in the true power that the genre holds within storytelling, where its ability to use exaggeration and scale allows us to ask, what if? Exploring and challenging deep-seated human actions and beliefs, and ultimately allowing us to seek the truth of the human experience. Arrival's overall message on face value may be one that seems relatively benign on a first pass-through, showcasing how powerful language and communication are at helping to shape the way in which we perceive the world around us. Although, I believe that Villeneuve looks to take it a step further, instead seeking to explore whether it is a lack of understanding that is the root of violence in the world, and that how in the face of extreme fear, the reaction of our species is always through aggression, rather than communication. It seems to me that Arrival is acting as a reflective piece, not concerned with the more cliched themes of alien life and technology, but asking us to reflect about how humans can communicate with each other and the role that multilingualism can play in healing division and fear. It's no mistake that Louise's words to General Shang are spoken in Mandarin. It is clear from later on in the movie that Shang is fluent in English, yet Louise's use of Mandarin bridges their communication at both a cultural and linguistic level, in a way levelling the playing field between them despite their drastic power differentials. This is important because I think that Villeneuve is suggesting that the skill of multilingualism not only provides stronger cultural resonance with others, but also an emotional resonance as well. The outcome of Louise's choice to speak in Mandarin highlights the profoundly greater impact of her words, spoken in his native tongue rather than her own. Their presentation as untranslated words is also of key importance. In line with his view on dialogue, Villeneuve would rather show the audience the impact that the words have than leaning on them as a crucial point. In essence, the words that are being said are not necessarily important for the script, yet the emotional resonance that they create in the characters that hear them and their effects cements the power of language within his worlds. Much like how Louise's words go untranslated in Arrival, this similar technique can be seen exhibited within Incendies, where Villeneuve deliberately removes the subtitles in key scenes where Jeanne is conversing with locals who only speak Arabic. Language here presents a lingual and cultural barrier between herself and the recipients of her words, blocking her from accessing key information that will help piece together her mother's past, and leaving her as isolated and lost within her journey. Incendies is interesting, as despite the setting being established around war, language is not seen as the driving force behind the conflict, but rather as a means to escape it. It is not surprising to me that in Villeneuve's world, Noelle is hinted at studying French literature at university. She's attempting to broaden her horizons and escape her war-torn world by giving herself access to new cultures, new ways of thinking, and a new way of communicating via language. Regardless of where in the world these films come from, multilingual experiences are something that are often shied away by the film industry. Villeneuve spends a lot of time and energy on this, allowing his characters and the actors that play them to feel authentic and rooted within the cultures and worlds that he is trying to depict. Unlike many, Villeneuve does not see language as a barrier to good storytelling, but rather as a weapon to disarm the viewer's perspective on the world.